WBVP and WNBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WNBA.
It's now time for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale. The phone lines are open at 724-843-1888 and 724-774-1888. You can also watch live on the WBVP-WNBA Facebook page. Here is your host, Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome back, everyone, to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the St. Barnabas Studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. He's ready to take your calls at 724-774-1888 or 724-843-1888. Also, make sure you check us out on Beaver County Radio Facebook Live and Beaver County Radio YouTube. Today's show is sponsored by Easy Home Exteriors. They do roofing replacement, windows, doors, and entryways, as well as siding. Easy Home Exteriors is your one-stop shop for all of your exterior modeling needs. For a free estimate, call 412-678-7008. That's 412-678-7008. Typically, Ryan, I welcome you to the show. We haven't been on in a few weeks. There's been some baseball, but we do have some breaking news.
Okay, we like breaking news.
Steelers news. You're not going to get this any other radio station. Ryan already knows the news. I already know the news. We can't give away the details. Russell Wilson is buying a house in Pittsburgh. All the details I can give you, because I've got to make sure this is a little confidential, is the house is over $5 million. And it is in downtown Pittsburgh. So Russell Wilson, Ryan, on a one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers, is buying a multi-million-dollar home in Pittsburgh. What does that mean moving forward?
What it means to me is when he moved to Denver from Seattle, they really splurged out there as well. And they're still, to this moment, I believe they're still having a hard time selling their mansions that are in Colorado. To me, it seems maybe that Russ, knows that he has a lot of money, and if he throws a little around here and there during his career, he's going to make it up. Beyond that, I really got to be honest with you, Brian. I don't know if there's much more to it, but I would think that, because again, look at his history. I think that I don't know if he expected to be in Denver a little longer, a little shorter than what he did the 2 seasons, but he did manage to buy a couple mansions. They're having a really, really hard time getting rid of them. For me personally, that's where I think that it's coming from.
Well, I think it's coming from maybe some other commitment from the Steelers to the Wilson family, such as a deal moving forward after this season. What are your thoughts on that potentially?
I don't. To be honest with you, we're going to see how the season plays out. I think that at his age, it would be tough to make a long-term decision, of course. I mean, he's in his mid to late 30s already. If he plays out well, we're probably going to try to work out a 1-2, probably a 2-year deal after this season. We don't know. We're going to have to see how this plays out. As far as we know, Brian, he could go out in week 1, blow out a knee, and we could be seeing Justin Fields for 16, 17 games. So at this point, I think it's speculation. However,
I like to speculate, Ryan.
And I know you do, and I like the fact that you do. But at the end of the day, I do believe that it's probably harmless at the moment. I know the Steelers, they don't really, their issues with commitment or something as well. I think that maybe, just maybe, it might be a little too early to make this call. I think that, again, Russell knows he has a lot of money. His wife has a lot of money. Let's not get the nice house while we're in town.
Okay. I just don't understand getting the nice house if you're going to be here for 365 days. I think that you get the nice house if you're planning on being here, let's just say, maybe 3 times that long.
I mean, that's sensible. Nothing that you're saying, Brian, is nonsensible. It's very sensible. But again, at the end of the day,
I did get all A's in logic in college.
But at the end of the day, look at the money they're trying to make back by getting rid of the homes. Again, multiple homes in Colorado, because did he expect to be there longer? Did him and again Sierra, did they say, hey, you were both pretty wealthy people? It's going to work out eventually. I think it's a little hard to say at this point. We have to wait to see how this season plays out.
His current wealth is, I believe, $165 million-ish. Okay, and he's due to make $1.2 million for the Steelers, and to not play for the Denver Broncos, $39 million. So a little over $40 million. So he should be roughly worth around $200 million. You sell some house, you get that money back. So maybe the $5 million. It's I don't want to give the number because I don't want to give too many details, but it's over $5 million. So I don't know.
Which I mean, come on, I don't know. Look around the league. I just don't know. Like what these guys spend when they're in this situation. I don't have that information. I don't know. Maybe this is, again, guys of his caliber. He is a Super Bowl winner. He is going to be in the Hall of Fame. He has money. Maybe it's a status thing. I have to spend a little bit more to be Russell Wilson.
I think he really wants to be accepted by the city. Was he not at the Kenny Chesney concert? And he was up with somebody else on stage, and he's throwing out the first pitch at the Pirates games. He's definitely doing all of the public relation aspects of being the face of the Steelers offense moving forward.
The only way to do that is to not suck.
Yeah, right.
These are all the things that Kenny Pickett did. You got to remember.
Those Levin commercials.
He was doing Levin commercials. He was going on stage smashing beer with country singers. I don't think it's much different than what Kenny did. But at the end of the day, the secret to being the guy that people accept in Pittsburgh is to not suck on Sundays. And if he does that, he's gonna be fine.
Right. Okay, in some not so breaking Steelers news, the Steelers have signed safety/slot defensive back Grayland Arnold. I would assume that's like a depth thing, maybe a practice squad guy, maybe somebody that if you get into injuries, you have. And then you broke on your live YouTube show today that they signed who?
Cam Sutton. Which I love the move. I'm going to be honest with you. This guy, he had some off-field issues. That's, we understand, right. And it's not right. And nobody is saying, let's bring in this guy because he got in problems. Mm-hmm. We like him. He played here. He got better every year he was here. When he went to Detroit, we said to ourselves, man, I wish he could have stuck around. You know what? This guy takes care of his off-field problems, comes back to the field again. You win on Sundays, he's going to be fine.
All right. What would you guess? There's 17 games. What would you guess his suspension is going to be to start the season?
Is it 8 games? I think it was what people were saying. I don't know.
You think half the season?
Yes, and you know what?
Do you think if he appeals it and goes to some classes and whatever, maybe he could bump down to 6 or something? That's typically how they usually knock something off for I don't know, signing up for whatever.
Yeah. Now you see this happen a lot of times, and even KZ or who was it? One of our guys last year, he was down. He had a suspension for a hit. He appealed. He got it down a couple games. So you're right. I mean, I
believe he was suspended for the whole season and the playoffs. But then when we did make the playoffs, the suspension ended at the end of the season. That's what he got knocked off. And then we ended up just giving up like 100 points to the Bills anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Some depressing Steelers news. They are still marching Dan Moore Jr. out at left tackle.
Yeah.
Broderick Jones, the number 1 draft pick last year, who ended up starting at right tackle after there was a disgruntled offensive lineman. He keeps moving from right to left tackle, and Futanu, he is. I guess he's going to be the fixture at right tackle. What's going on there?
I don't know. I mean, you obviously want to see. You want to see last year's number 1 work, of course. Because, at this point here, you are your year 2. If Broderick Jones isn't playing and isn't getting significant your reps and his responsibilities aren't such, that's a bit of a disappointment because we're building offensive line. That's what you went after. That's what you got, and it's not working for you. However, moving forward, we have 4 of the 5 pieces in place. So if we can make something happen with this situation, that would be cool because moving on next year, we'll probably go after a second round and try to get that last position. But what are you going to do right now?
Also on the offensive line, I believe Herbig has been starting at center over Frazier. I mean, what's the deal with Mike Tomlin not liking rookies?
Yeah, and maybe that's all it is. Maybe it's, hey, you know what, these guys are rooks.
You got to earn it, no matter who you are, no matter if you're Joey Porter Jr. or what. My dad or your dad and me were best friends.
Right. No, you're probably, at the end of the day, that may be what it is. We don't know. I don't know the way that Mike looks at this, but it sure does seem that he does not favor toward the rookies. Maybe, hey, this other guy has time under his belt. This other guy has the experience. Let's go with them until the rookie can prove it.
What's the wide receiver from Michigan we just picked up? His name's
Roman Wilson.
Wilson, yes. Yeah. Just say Wilson because that's probably somebody at every position on our team. So people are expecting him, if we don't pick up another receiver, to be the number 2 right off the bat.
Yeah.
Well, if Frazier and Jones and Fatano, and Joey Porter Jr. and the list goes on and on, Keanu Benton, if they can't start as rookies, what would anybody think that Mike Tomlin would be any different with Roman Wilson?
That's a great question. That is $1 million question, because the other wide receiver position, I think, is a position that a lot of people assumed that we were going to fix when we did let Deontay Johnson go. The fact that we're still sitting at this point with nobody in that spot, with the possibility of Roman Wilson being that guy, kind of blows my mind, considering Omar Khan hasn't left any other stones unturned. The fact that this stone he left unturned is a pretty big stone. So again, here we are, June 5th. I still don't think that he's done. I think that something is going to happen. I just can't imagine any of these guys that we have now being the number 2 receiver to start the season.
So there's been about 25 stones or so that they've taken care of. Let's just say 11 on offense, 10 on offense, 11 on defense, and a few special teams. We got rid of the punter. We got a returner. I just don't know what they think they're going to do, because I don't even know if we have a number 1 wide receiver, let alone, needing a 2. I think we need a 1.
I think, Brian, with this number 1, let me start with that. We're going to see this year. George Pickens, unfortunately, had this situation where I'm not going to badmouth Kenny, but going through what we went through with Kenny Pickett, with Mitch Trubisky, and also with Mason Rudolph, it really put not only George Pickens, but a lot of other people in a very difficult position. I think this season we're going to learn a lot about these guys. We're going to learn a lot about are we going to go after the 4th year, or go after the option with George Pickens when his time comes? We don't know that yet. After this year, we're going to have to figure out which one of these 2 running backs we want to keep around. We don't know that yet. So I think this season is going to be very telling for where this Steeler team goes moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of questions with our quarterback situation. We have 2 guys that are potential number 1s. One's at the end of his career, one's at the beginning of his career. We got a lot of young offensive linemen, a lot of starts. Is there a wide receiver out there? Because I think we have like $18 million we could spend on some players.
Yeah.
I don't know how deep we are at every position. Some positions we have some nice depth. Some positions we really don't. I think at offensive line, with all these parts, we do have some depth there. We have some depth at running back, obviously quarterback.
Linebackers are plentiful.
We have a lot of wide receivers as well.
Yeah.
Just not a lot of starters.
Right.
So I don't know. You would think that Russell Wilson would want somebody to be a go-to guy on 3rd down.
You're exactly right. Again, this comes back to, I am very surprised at the way Omar Khan has handled this to this point. Again, here we are. It's June 5th. This may change tomorrow. We don't know, but it would surprise me very much so if it would continue on this way all the way through camp, all the way into the regular season. I just can't in a million years imagine they're not going to address that. But you know what? Who knows? Like you said, maybe Roman Wilson comes along and has a Rookie of the Year season. We don't know that. But I'm a bit surprised.
Yeah, well, Roman Wilson fits in nice. I was never a big Hines Ward fan. I always thought he was a drama queen, but he did try hard. He played hard. He didn't tiptoe out of bounds and run backwards like Deontay Johnson and all these receivers today. I think Roman Wilson is going to really help out in the run game, and as corny as that sounds in 2024 with the style of the NFL, I think he'll really help out with that, as well as Mount Washington there at the backup tight end spot.
I think we're going to see a lot of Mount Washington this year. I think that this offense is going to be a lot different. That's what people got to realize. This is not going to be the same offense that we had. Whether it ends up being a great offense, whether it ends up being whatever, it's not going to be the same offense. The quarterback position changed so much. The offense itself, the way it's structured, the way it's designed, the way it's going to be ran is going to be so different. And I think that utilizing those tight ends, your Darnell Washington and Pat Freiermuth, is going to be a big part of Arthur Smith's offense.
Will the Steelers give Freiermuth a new contract before the beginning of the season?
I would like to say yes, but it's unsure at this moment.
I don't know how you do it, because wasn't he hurt a lot last year?
Yeah, he was hurt. But
plus, we didn't have quarterbacks that could throw him the ball either. And
they just chose not to. But you know what? As far as what he's done on the field, he's been a solid tight end. He's been a guy that showed he could get it done if you use him he's going to do good things. So again, it comes down to what are we going to see this season?
So if you missed the opening of the show, we opened up with Russell Wilson and his family are buying a home in downtown Pittsburgh. I don't want to give the exact details, for well over $5 million. I think he's looking to stay here for more than just this season. That's my opinion. Ryan kind of seems to just think that he likes to buy houses wherever the cities he goes. Is that right, Ryan?
Yeah, you make it sound... but listen, yes, I do think that, because at the end of the day, you just don't know what you're going to get from Russell Wilson. I sat there and watched some Broncos games last year, unfortunately. And one thing that I noticed early on in games, it was a lot of these short dink and dunk. Okay, Russell's career might be coming close to being, coming to an end. But later in the game, when it came down to it, Russell did throw the ball down the field. Russell did make the big plays he had to make. So, who knows, Bri? He could come in and it could just fall apart. Because he's coming and doing all the right things now doesn't mean that he's going to have a success when season starts.
All right. Well, we are going to change speeds here. We do have to go to break here. On the other side of the break, we are going to be talking about the NBA Finals and all the fighting in the WNBA. We do have Jay Skapanak coming on, Scap Attack, the famous YouTuber. So you guys have been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM. We'll be right back to One Man's Opinion on Sports.
Trying to hit a fastball or throwing a runner out at home. It's hard to think of doing these things under perfect circumstances, let alone with the distraction and discomfort of dental issues. Regular dental care from Dr. C. Timothy Lip can improve your productivity, happiness, and focus, even if you're not in the big leagues. Dental problems affect more than just your teeth. Visit lipdentistry.com or Dr. C. Timothy Lip Family Dental Offices on College Hill and Robinson Township.
Whether it's Little League or the big leagues, it's time to get out and play ball. Friendly Federal Credit Union reminds you that every team looks forward to playing at home in front of a live crowd. Seeing loyal fans can help any player feel more comfortable. Just like a home game in baseball, Friendly Federal Credit Union always has friendly faces to help and cheer you on at the teller window. Now get out of that dugout and in front of your cheering section, the personal live tellers at Friendly Federal Credit Union.
This is Andy Toole, men's basketball coach at Robert Morris University, here to talk about my friends at Falcone Moon Township Ford. I know what it takes to win a basketball game. It begins with practice and a team of players who want to win. The same is true of the team at Moon Township Ford. Professionals who will win you over. They'll find the best rate and terms on a car loan to help you get the best deal. Make a fast break and avoid the roadblocks that stop you from finding the car you want. Go where I go. Moon Township Ford.
Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
The Rochester True Value, located inside the Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard, is proudly serving the community. The Rochester True Value is independently owned and operated and has experienced workers who can help you with your home projects. The Rochester True Value has tools, products, and all the equipment needed for you to get the job done. The Rochester True Value inside the Shop and Save is open and ready to help with your home improvements. That's the Rochester True Value in Shop and Save on the Ohio River Boulevard.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WNBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WNBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WNBA.
Now back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the same part of his studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. Make sure you check us out on Beaver County Radio Facebook Live and Beaver County Radio YouTube. Today's show is sponsored by Easy Home Exteriors. They do roofing, replacement windows, doors, and entryways, as well as siding. Easy Home Exteriors is your one-stop shop for all of your exterior remodeling needs. For a free estimate, call 412-678-7008. That's 412-678-7008. All right, everyone. No one's voice, content, sarcasm, delivery, and editing is better on YouTube. I'd like to welcome my favorite YouTuber, Jay Skapanak. Is that better than last time?
You nailed it, Brian. That is exactly correct.
Perfect. I've been practicing all week.
It shows, my friend. Thank you so much for having me back again, by the way.
Thanks for coming on. I mean, the last time we had you on, it was just the NBA final, or the NBA playoffs had just gotten started, and now we are just about 24 hours away from the NBA finals.
Yeah, it's coming up finally at long last. It seems like basically we had already started the off season. It's been a full week because, one series ended in a sweep, one ended in 5. So seemingly has really been not much going on. But finally, yes, at long last, tomorrow night we get underway game 1 of the long-awaited NBA Finals.
Yes, it definitely seems like we've gone through the whole offseason just to wait for the finals. What are your thoughts, before we get into the finals, what are your thoughts on the playoffs thus far?
Well, I mean, ultimately, no surprise at all in the East. One of the most abysmal and pathetic playoff runs that we've pretty much seen in at least 2 decades coming from the Eastern Conference. I mean, there were good teams in that conference outside of Boston, who was a juggernaut this season. The Celtics, meanwhile, quite frankly, one of the greatest regular season teams in NBA history. So they were going to be the favorites in that conference regardless. But then the immense amount of luck they got on their run was absolutely unbelievable. The second best team in the conference, of course, the Milwaukee Bucks, lose Giannis for the entire playoffs. New York lost half of their entire roster throughout the course of their playoff run. Joel Embiid was a shell of himself with Philadelphia. And, when the smoke cleared and the dust settled, what resulted was a 6 seed in the Indiana Pacers somehow working their way to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics just ran roughshod through the East. No surprise. I think they lost 2 games. The West has been a bit of a surprise. There's no doubt about that. The Dallas Mavericks coming all the way from the 5 seed, and they beat a bunch of good teams along the way. They beat the 51-win Clippers in the first round, the 57-win number 1 seed Thunder in the second round, and then, of course, a bit of a surprise in the Western Conference Finals. They were facing, at that point, the heavy favorite Timberwolves and just smoked them in the gentleman's sweep, 4-1. So Dallas has definitely been a surprise. One of my major takeaways is just that the Denver Nuggets kind of got exposed, I think. As you know, I'm a big Nikola Jokic fan. I wouldn't say that he got exposed. I would say that the supporting cast on that team got exposed, and I'm now eagerly kind of waiting to see what they might potentially do in the offseason to fortify that roster around him.
Yeah, I had high hopes for Porter Jr. there for the Nuggets, and his feet are awful on defense. He gets beat to the hole almost every single time. He tries to rely on that length he has.
Yeah, Brian, look, Jamal Murray played a really poor postseason this year. I think he ended up averaging 20 points per game, but on only 40% from the field across all 3 rounds of the postseason. And it was essentially exactly that same average for the series against Minnesota ultimately. But look, Murray was likely injured. He had a whole bunch of left leg injuries. I think like literally every tendon and ligament in that guy's leg was injured throughout the entire course of the playoffs. So it's really hard to hold him accountable. But you just nailed, spot on the dart in the middle of the bullseye, Brian. What in the hell was Michael Porter Jr. doing in that series against the Minnesota Timberwolves? It was absolutely breathtaking. He had 11 points per game average throughout the 7-game series on 37%. This guy's making $36 million a year. I think, look, his brother Jonte Porter has just been expelled from the league for life for gambling on games. I think the NBA should launch an immediate investigation on Michael Porter Jr. following that series against Minnesota. 11 points on 37% for a $36 million a year player. Pathetic.
Absolutely pathetic. Well, before we get into the Boston and Dallas matchup, let's talk about what everybody on the planet wants to hear. Is LeBron going to stay at L.A. or is he going to go to Phoenix?
Well, as you know, I put a video out speculating that maybe potentially the tea leaves, if you're reading them, might indicate that LeBron may possibly be ready to jump ship and take his talent to yet another lucky NBA city. And the reason Phoenix has kind of surfaced as a name is because Bronny, of course, the legendary Bronny, who averaged 4.8 points per game for a sub-500 college team this year, who everyone's clamoring to now draft in the NBA. draft that's upcoming here, I believe, on the 26th and 27th of June, so they could lure LeBron out. 10 teams have requested LeBron's agent and best friend, Rich Paul, who is also now representing son Bronny. 10 teams have requested a workout with him, and Rich Paul has turned down all but 2 of those teams, the Lakers and the Suns. Therefore, there's this speculation maybe that Phoenix is in the running. Their general manager there, James Jones, actually played with LeBron in Cleveland and Miami, so there's that kind of tie. But look, I would be ultimately shocked, Brian, if he leaves L.A. He's got a great thing going there. He's got a top 10 player in Anthony Davis, the only player, may I add, in the NBA this season who made both an All-NBA team selection and an All-NBA defensive team selection. So you've got Anthony Davis, who's the best player on that team, and he serves as the perfect scapegoat for any failures that LeBron might encounter along the way. Then you have that sycophantic, pathetic front office helmed by Jeannie Buss. And just to see what that Buss family has done to the great Dr. Buss and his legacy, he's rolling over in his grave. They absolutely genuflect, kowtow, do whatever they can to make this guy happy. They're about to sign LeBron's bestie and podcast co-host, J.J. Redick, as the next head man there. So I'll be shocked if he exits L.A. Plus, he's got his whatever burgeoning empire of his whatever kind of production thing he's building there in Los Angeles. It makes too much sense, Brian. So I would be surprised to see him leave.
Now, most guys, whenever they're growing, they usually stop around age 18, 19. Some guys have some growth spurts, like Scottie Pippen. I believe he grew 6, 7, 8 inches in college. How did Bronny shrink 3 inches?
It's Brian, it's crazy. Since I've been hearing Bronny's name, he's been 6'4". Like he's basically been 6'4" since he was 8 years old. I feel like, and then all of a sudden he goes to the combine and is all of a sudden 6'1". I honestly, I'm not sure. Has he been wearing lifts in his shoes all these years? I'm not sure. I mean, of course, LeBron he controls the narrative in pretty much everything in his own career. So I guess he's controlled the narrative on everything in his son's career, right down to his height as well.
All right, everyone. This is Jay Skapanak from Scap Attack on YouTube. I want to give out a couple stats here real quick for you and see what you think about that. 46,100K subscribers, 239 videos, 421K views to one of your most popular videos, 12,409,609 views and counting for the Scap Attack YouTube channel. What's going on there? The popularity is just going off the charts.
Yeah, it's been a good run. I'm a little bit over a year now. I started really honing in on this channel right around the beginning of the playoffs last season. So, I'm going on my second year now, and I've just been kind of overwhelmed by the reaction and the response. It started basically, Brian, like I'm just a disgruntled sports fan, essentially, is how this all began. Mainly a disgruntled NBA fan, and rather than fighting with a handful of 5, 6, 10 people on social media for hours a day, I decided to channel all of my energies into maybe reaching more people and getting my word out and my views and my takes and trying to spread my ideas a little bit more efficiently. And I decided, despite the fact I knew practically nothing about video editing, I decided that I would give YouTube a try, and it's been really working out for me. Again, I'm overwhelmed, and I'm very appreciative to everybody that subscribes on there, that takes their time and continually comes back and watches my stuff. You included. I know you're a big fan and you watch probably all of my stuff, so I appreciate it.
Oh, I've watched them all multiple times. The one today was hilarious. I mean, I was literally laughing. I'm remodeling a bathroom, and I'm in the bathroom by myself, just like laughing. And I'm like, this homeowner's probably downstairs, like wondering what the heck's going on up there.
Yeah, this was and shout out to you as well. You kind of gave me the idea for today's video. You've been, I don't know if you want to still touch a little bit on this NBA Finals matchup, or we're going to get into Caitlin Clark. I know we might touch on her in a little bit here, but the video today was about Caitlin, and you really have been illuminating her struggle, shall we say it, throughout her first couple games in the WNBA. So that really perked me up, and I launched an investigation into Caitlin in the WNBA at your behest. So that was kind of the end of the video today that I put out.
All right, yeah, we're definitely going to keep you on for another segment. So we'll get into the Boston and Dallas setup. We'll spend half of it on that, and then maybe half on Caitlin Clark and whatever else is going on. So you could stick around for another segment, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, guys, let's go to a break here. Then we'll be back in 2 minutes. You guys been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM.
Cruising season is here. For some of you, that means shining up the car and heading down the highway. For others, it might mean grabbing the wheel on the other side of your vessel and cruising the local waterways in your boat. Yet there are some of you that cruise season means letting somebody else do the driving while you enjoy all-you-can-eat buffets on a luxury liner at sea. This is Andy Dengel from Freedom United Federal Credit Union. Well, whatever floats your boat. Freedom United Federal Credit Union can get you cruising sooner than you think with easy-term auto, recreational vehicle, and vacation loan programs. Put things on cruise control. Visit Freedom United Federal Credit Union today and let the fun begin tomorrow. Loans are based on credit approval. Visit freedomunitedfcu.com for rates and details. Member NCUA, Equal Housing Lender.
Join Mike Romai for Live Mike each Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 9 a.m. Sponsored by the Beaver County Transit Authority. The Beaver County Transit Authority is reimagining and redefining how we connect in Beaver County. That's Live Mike with Mike Romai, weekdays from 6:30 to 9 a.m. on 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, coming to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the St. Barnabas Studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. Also, make sure you check us out on Beaver County Radio Facebook Live and Beaver County YouTube. Beaver County Radio YouTube, excuse me. Today's show is sponsored by Easy Home Exteriors. They do roofing replacement, windows, doors, and entryways, as well as siding. Easy Home Exteriors is your one-stop shop for all of your exterior remodeling needs. For a free estimate, call 412-678-7008. That's 412-678-7008. All right, we've been talking to Scap Attack Jay Skapanuk, and we've been talking about the NBA, and I guess we can get into the Boston versus Dallas. What does Boston need to do to win this series, do you think, Jay?
Well, and I touched on it earlier. I just want to drill this point in, actually. They are one of the greatest regular season teams we've ever seen. When you look at their net differential, which is the amount of points that they won by per game when you factor in all of their wins and losses, 11.34. Brian, that is fifth all-time in NBA history. You'll know the four teams above them. The 71 Lakers, the famous Wilt and Jerry West team that won 33 straight games and finally got over the hump and won a championship. Then the 72 Milwaukee Bucks, the one led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson. Number 3 on that list, the 95-96 Chicago Bulls, the famous 72-10 Bulls. And then the only other team above this year's Boston Celtics team is the 2016-17 Warriors, the 73-win team that added Kevin Durant in that first season. That's it. That's the list. That's how good this 64-win Boston Celtics team is. They're absolutely loaded. They didn't break a sweat in the Eastern Conference Finals or the Eastern Conference playoffs at all because of the aforementioned injury luck that they caught along the way. Basically, look, what do they have to do? Not choke and throw up all over themselves like they are prone to doing, like we've seen them do for years now, seemingly. This team, I can't believe they haven't won a championship at this point, and now they're even better. They add Kristaps Porzingis in the offseason. They bring in Drew Holiday. Porzingis, of course, got hurt earlier in the playoffs, but he's a full go. I hear there's no limitations on him for Game 1 now. So they just have to do what they are supposed to do, manage these games and not gag. But they have an absolute abysmal, underqualified, 35-year-old coach who's way in over his head in Joe Mazzulla, and Jason Tatum, who, I mean, can't help but soil his pants in every big situation he gets in. So despite the fact Boston should be a massive, overwhelming favorite, I think they're a 7-point favorite in Game 1. It feels like Dallas is kind of the favorite in this series to me, despite the fact they're a 5 seed.
Yes, I remember watching the Celtics playing the Warriors in the finals, and basically the Celtics would bring the ball up over the court and then just turn it over without even any pressure on the ball.
It was pathetic. They were up 2-1 in that series, and then they never won another game. And Tatum shot in the sub-30. He was in, I believe, the 37, 38% range for the entire series throughout the course of that one. And then of course that last year, the debacle, they lose, they go down 3-0 last year in the Eastern Conference Finals to the 8th seed, Miami Heat. They then win 3 straight games, force a Game 7. They're 8-point favorites in their home gym in a Game 7, and they get blown to pieces by 20 points. This team should be an absolute lock to win this championship. It should be a coronation of one of the great individual single-season teams we've seen. And instead, I will not be surprised in the least if this 5-seed Dallas Mavericks team finds a way to knock them off and get the championship. And Dallas would become, as the 5-seed, they would be only the 3rd team lower than a 3-seed in the 80-year history of the NBA playoffs to win a championship. They'd be the 2nd lowest seed ever to win a championship, second only to that 95 Rockets team led by Hakeem Olajuwon.
All right, so if the Celtics don't blow it, how do the big two from Dallas just overcome this Celtics defense?
It's just going to be sheer individual excellence by Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. The two of them are as individually dynamic on the ball, especially when you're pairing them in the same backcourt. They are very difficult to contend with. You saw them taking turns and trading off throughout the course of the Western Conference playoffs. That Minnesota defense was no joke. They were the number 1 rated defense in the regular season by over 2 points per 100 possessions, and they looked hellacious in that Denver Nuggets series. Absolutely just shut down the perimeter throughout the course of that 7-game series. And then Luka and Kyrie largely just had their way. There were just no answers from a team that, Anthony Edwards is an elite perimeter defender, and they had a bunch of support on the back line as well at the rim. I just don't, as well equipped as Boston is. They have Drew Holiday, who was first team All-NBA defense a season ago. Tatum is no slouch on defense. I just don't see any way Boston is going to be able to stop those two players. And, I think ultimately the Dallas game plan is going to be the same as what they went into the series against Minnesota, thinking, let's keep it close. Let's find a way with their newly built defense. They made some masterful trade acquisitions along the deadline, bringing in P.J. Washington and Gafford there, and it totally remade their defense. They went from the 21st rated net defense to the 7th rated net defense the rest of the way after those 2 acquisitions. So basically muck it up with Boston for, 3.5 quarters, keep it close, lead them right into a place where Boston doesn't want to go, a tight, 1 or 2 possession game in clutch time. Watch Boston throw up all over themselves while the individual mastery and closing ability of Luka and Kyrie take over, just like in that Minnesota series.
Are you willing to make a prediction?
But it will be a humongous upset, but I'm going out on a limb here. I'm going to say, barring injury, because somehow Boston, every best player on every team that Boston gets hurt. If Luka and Kyrie play all of the games of the series, I like Dallas in 6.
All right, excellent. Let's switch gears a little bit. Why don't you kind of, I guess, maybe give an overview real quick of your video you put out today and the WNBA?
Well, Brian, the WNBA is just a pathetic, horribly run entity, and it has, a pathetic product, of course, which is women playing basketball. It's actually kind of astounding just how bad it could be. I thought it was maybe hyperbolic when I would hear people making fun of the WNBA or joking about it. When I went to look for footage to edit this video together, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of airballed layups that I was able to find that happened on a nightly basis on WNBA basketball courts. And accordingly, because the product is so putrid, nobody has watched it for basically 30 years. And now finally, this girl, Caitlin Clark, this transcendent collegiate player who, lit the world of college basketball on fire, at least from a ratings and a viewership standpoint. Brian, for the viewers that might not know, her national championship game against South Carolina this year drew 18.9 million viewers. The men's national championship game, where UConn became the first repeat champion in like 20 years, only got 14.8 million. So, people were watching this girl at prolific rates when she was in college. And now, lo and behold, she comes into the WNBA. And while the numbers still aren't amazing or breathtaking, the viewership numbers, the attendance numbers are blowing up comparatively to the low and pathetic numbers of previous years. And you would think, Brian, that upon having this girl coming into this league, this savior, if you will, they would all throw their arms up and wrap their arms around her and embrace her and cherish her and be thankful that she is probably going to bring, additional visibility and money to all of them. Instead, they hate this girl's guts. They're going out of their way to try to, haze her, bully her, whatever you want to say. It's absolutely hilarious. But in a total heel turn by the WNBA, Caitlin Clark, it's hard to get behind her and root for her because she stinks. Like, you would think this girl who dominated college, all-time leading scorer in NCAA women's history, highest scoring average, you'd think she would come in and light this league up. She's averaging 15.5 points per game, and she's under 30% from the three-point line, which is what she's known for. And real quick, Brian, I just want to get this in, too, because as you know, you basically broke the news to me. She's leading the league in turnovers with 59 currently, but that is double the second-place person. Second place in the WNBA turnovers has only 33. It's basically, I don't know who to root for in this. It's like two villains.
I'm with you there because I want her to succeed. I want the WNBA to do well, but then I watch it and I just think there's no way it possibly can. You were talking on your video today, and I found this really fascinating. The average ratings for WNBA was right around the 300,000 mark.
That's right, and that's in the last 3 years. Yeah.
Okay, and then you pointed out the Big Bang Theory reruns on syndication were what were they per episode?
Nightly, weekday TBS showings of the Big Bang Theory in syndication get 788,000.
Okay, so 2.5 times a WNBA game, and yet they're claiming they need chartered flights and whatnot. Meanwhile, they haven't made a profit one season yet, correct?
Yeah, no, they lose money. They lose drastic amounts of money every year. They're subsidized by the NBA. If it wasn't for the NBA basically footing the bill, they would have gone bankrupt, and there would be no such thing as the WNBA. It would have been gone years and years ago.
All right. Before I let you go, we have a couple minutes here. I want to share a real quick story with you, Jay and Ryan. When I attended Slippery Rock, I was not Penn State like yourself there, but when I attended Slippery Rock, I refereed intramural games and girls basketball games in high school. And us referees, before the women's season, we would scrimmage the girls up there, Jay. And let me just tell you, they are nasty. Punch you, kick you, hit you, bite you. They would pretty much molest you and then act like they didn't foul you. It was absolutely disgusting. And I was watching one of Angel Reese's games the other day, and the Sun forward Elisa Thomas grabbed her by the face and just whipped her to the ground like a rag doll. And then obviously the Chennedy Carter, who nobody's ever heard of, hip checks Caitlin Clark. Like, why do these girls play like that?
I honestly don't know. You seem to be more well versed in women's athletics at the moment than me. I've been watching a lot of it in the last couple of days, but I would think, quite frankly, again, I know nothing about women's athletics primarily other than the video I just produced, but I would think that women would be playing a more a finesse game, be relying more on like a skill set and their shooting prowess. So I don't know why there's so many like enforcer-type goons out there in the WNBA, and I guess, according to you, in women's sports in general.
Yeah, I mean, I would think that the WNBA would be a much more fundamentally sound game than the NBA game, but it turns out it's just really sloppy. I was texting Ryan, my producer here, back and forth. We were watching a game together, at two different places, but I had seen about a half a dozen in one quarter, Jay, a half a dozen rejections by the bottom of the backboard. These girls were shooting layups into the bottom of the backboard by the half dozens.
Yeah, like I said, I was stunned at the ample amount of airballed layups that I was able to find throughout the YouTube annals throughout over the last couple of years. And I mean, some of these shots, Brian, is just ridiculous. Like they do step back 3-point shots and it comes up literally like 5 feet short of the rim. Like you can't even imagine how bad some of these shots are.
Oh boy, thank God. What did we run before the segment, Ryan? That Beaver County Radio is not responsible for our opinions. Good thing we ran that little disclaimer there. All right, Jay, if I could, I'd keep you here all night, but unfortunately we got to go to a break and let you go. Everybody, jump on YouTube at 6:01 today after the show. Click on Scap Attack, like, share, subscribe, comment, check out 239 videos and counting. Absolutely fantastic job. Jay, thanks for joining us.
My man, thank you so much. My pleasure to be here with you.
All right, take care. All right, everyone, we'll be back to talk a little bit of Buccos on the other side of this. You've been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM.
You're listening to Beaver County Radio, brought to you live from the Fry Transportation Studios. Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation, a winning team. 99.3 FM and WBVP, providing news, sports, and information for 76 years.
Are you ready to rumble? For the 33rd year in a row, the Main Drag in Beaver Falls will come alive on Saturday, June 8th with a loud roar and vibrant colors that can mean only one thing. It's the annual Beaver Falls Car Cruise. Make plans to witness the 15-block cruise lane, vehicle display, and food vendors on 7th Avenue in Beaver Falls from 11 to 7 on Saturday, June 8th, rain or shine. The free event is presented in part by Deal Ford Kia, Eddie Isabella State Farm Insurance, 99.3 FM WBVP and 95.7 FM The Beaver, and Duquesne Light. Additional support is provided by Beaver Falls Health Mart Pharmacy, Kenya Johns for State Representative, Auto Body Products, PPG and Tri-County Management McDonald's, among others. Shine up the hot rod because the second Saturday in June always means the Beaver Falls Car Cruise. Beaver County Boom is happening June the 29th, and Beaver County Radio is the place to listen for all the coverage. Falcone's Moon Township Ford will present a live broadcast on Beaver County Radio from the VIP headquarters at Mario's 410 Grill from 6 until the choreographed fireworks and music get underway at 9:45. Take your radio along to listen or download our free apps on your mobile device, as Beaver County Radio is your exclusive place to hear the soundtrack to the fireworks. The Falcone's Moon Township Ford Beaver County Boom broadcast sponsors include City Rescue Mission, Pizza Joe's, Freedom United Federal Credit Union, Tom Sipes Demolition, St. Barnabas, Beaver County Radio, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. The 2024 Beaver County Boom broadcast is being presented by Falcone's Moon Township Ford, where friends send friends.
Join Mike Romai for Live Mike each Monday through Friday from 6:30 to 9 a.m. Sponsored by the Beaver County Transit Authority. The Beaver County Transit Authority is reimagining and redefining how we connect in Beaver County. That's Live Mike with Mike Romai, weekdays from 6:30 to 9 a.m. on 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and BeaverCountyRadio.com.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
Now back to One Man's Opinion with Bryan Pasquale.
Welcome back to One Man's Opinion on Sports with me, Bryan Pasquale. I'm here at the St. Barnabas Studios. Joining me today is my producer, Ryan Garazunas. He's ready to take your calls at 724-774-1888 or 724-843-1888. Also, make sure you check us out on Beaver County Radio Facebook Live and Beaver County Radio YouTube. Today's show is sponsored by Easy Home Exteriors. They do roofing replacement, windows, doors, and entryways, as well as siding. Easy Home Exteriors is your one-stop shop for all of your exterior modeling needs. For a free estimate, call 412-678-7008. That's 412-678-7008. All right, so tonight, 6:40 here on Beaver County Radio. Make sure you guys tune in to the Pittsburgh Pirates. It is Paul Skeens night. The stash is here, and what are we thinking, Ryan? Are we going to get another win tonight against the Dodgers?
I don't, and I'm going to tell you why. This is the perfect trap game for the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Why? It's Tomlin coaching.
Well, yeah, you're right. They go in yesterday. They win this 1-0 game where Jared Jones throws another magnificent no-run game. Then Jack Sawinski, who by the luck of their teeth, the Pirates actually called up yesterday from the minors, and he hits the game-winning home run at a point during the game. This game, to me, with Paul Skeens on the hill, you'd think they might not be able to hit him. Again, at the end of the day, this team has three MVPs on this team. They're going to come back. I think it's crazy to think that we could beat this team 2, even 3 games in a row. But I think that if we are going to win this series, it's going to be the Bailey Falter start tomorrow. It just has trap game all over it for me.
All right, let me read you something here, okay? Here's 4 pitchers for the Pirates. 3.42 ERA, Mitch Keller. 3.25 ERA, Jones. 3.22 ERA, Falter. And 2.45 ERA, Skeens. If I told you that that's our top 4 pitchers, and those are their ERAs, this point in the season, what would you think our record is?
You certainly wouldn't think it is what it is. It's so crazy because it is a very, very good rotation. As a matter of fact, there's 29 other teams in the league that would like this rotation that we have. Unfortunately, the bullpen from middle to the end has been inconsistent at best this year. And I'm saying this because I expected a little bit of inconsistency from the middle of the bullpen.
Right.
However, you get to the back end where you're getting your Holderman, your Chapman, your Bednar. That seems to have really dropped a lot this year as well. So that's not helping the case out. Once these starters come out, they pitch 6 great innings. They turn it over. I'm never confident, and I believe you and I, we have these conversations through text while the games are going on. I'm never confident with the pitching beyond the starters.
Did you see Chapman throw his glove because he thought he gave up the
yes,
the home run?
And you know what? That's what freaked me out because I thought it was hit out, but because of the way he reacted.
Was there a tornado was this the 3rd tornado that came by Western PA and knocked it back into the park, or what happened?
It was probably at about the 401 mark on the 410 wall.
Okay.
It was a pretty. I mean, come on.
It was a shot.
It was a shot.
Anywhere else in the ballpark, it's gone.
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So Holderman's been very well, doing well all season. Chapman started off great.
Yeah.
And then has Bailey faltered, and then Bednar started off terrible and has actually gotten on a good track. So hopefully those 3 with Skeens, Jones, Keller, Falter, Holderman, Chapman, Bednar, I really like all those pitchers. If a couple other guys can give you some decent innings, that's great with me. However, on the other side of the scenario here, Joe Connor is our best batter if you take out Nick Gonzalez, who he's only had 81 at bats, but Nick Gonzalez has been tearing it up. But other than that, what's going on with Brian Reynolds, O'Neal Cruz, Jared Triolo? The list goes on up. Brian Hayes.
I mean, there's really a story for each one of these guys.
Yeah, I should have slowed down there.
Listen. They're just playing. They're not playing good baseball. At the end of the day, if you look at the numbers that the team puts up statistically, where they fall within the other 30 teams in the league, we fall 15 on a lot of them. We're smack dab in the middle. So at the end of the day, this team's playing good. These guys are hitting good, or they're not. There's no. It's just a very bizarre situation. And as you stated, all those pitchers that we have, you would think we'd be in a good place, right?
Right.
We're, what are we, 7.5, 8 games back in the division? We shouldn't be 8 games back, but this bullpen is very bad. And the bad thing, Brian, also moving forward, you're going to want this team to be buyers, here in another 45 days when the trade deadline comes. Are they going to be buyers, or are they going to not make the move to pull in a reliever or two to improve things drastically? Or are they going to take everything that they have in place and throw it out the window because they have a lot of pieces?
I wonder if there's a first baseman that's going to be available at the trade deadline that you might have for a few years, not just a rental.
Yeah.
Because if you can get, I don't need to have, Albert Pujols.
Right.
But give me somebody that's giving you something. And I know Connor Joe's doing the best he can out there, but it's pretty pathetic. We have guys with 14, 19, 20 RBIs this deep into the season. Yeah. We have guys batting, Rowdy Tellez, Zawinski, Henry Davis, Michael A. Taylor, all batting under 200. That's absolutely pathetic. Triolo, I thought the world of Triolo. He's got a great glove. He's a great third baseman. I think he's a top 3 or 4 third basemen in the league. Yeah. He just happens behind, I think, the best defensive third baseman. So they play him at second, and, he can't hit.
Yeah. You know what? It's going to be interesting tonight, Brian, because we are facing a very, very good left-handed pitcher. He's 5-0 coming into this game. We are going 1 through 8 righties.
Skeens is 2-0, correct?
Yes, he is.
All right. I like it. 7-0.
We have the first 8 batters in our lineup are right-handed batters. Jack Zawinski is put in the 9th spot, being the only lefty in the lineup.
Because we're out of center fielders at this point with everybody being hurt and somebody had a baby.
Michael A. Taylor is on maternity leave.
He is one of those people that got pregnant. Somehow a male got pregnant. He's on maternity leave.
Yes, he is on paternity leave. I'm sorry. But I got to tell you this as well. You threw his numbers out there. They're not fantastic. At this point, I would rather have Jack Wilson. Or I'm sorry, Jack Wilson. Jack Zawinski. I'd rather have Jack Wilson, too. But Jack Zawinski at this time in the outfield, I'm fine with that. Every once in a while, the guy does hit a home run, where Michael A. Taylor, I think that 21 home runs that opened our eyes and made us excited about bringing him here, I don't think you're going to see that anymore out of this player.
Yeah. I just want to root for the Pirates so bad.
It's a hard thing to do. They talk about towns with loyalty. Say we're not loyal to this Pittsburgh Pirate team. Go ahead and say it, because every year we fall into these same guys.
I listen on the radio. Right. I listen on Beaver County Radio all the time. I watch on TV. I won't go to the games and spend the money that way.
Right.
I guess maybe they're getting their money through the advertisements that way. But I just, until the ownership leaves or does something else, I just can't go. Let me tell you a little funny story. My buddy Brad Ruda, who I went to college with at Slippery Rock, he lives out in the Lehigh Valley, about 2 hours north of Philadelphia. He is a converted Pittsburgh Steelers fan from an Eagles fan, so congratulations to him on that. Yeah. But he does like the Phillies.
All right.
And so whenever I talk to him about baseball, we'll chit-chat, and he said they lost like a series, and everybody's up in arms and hooting and hollering, and they're in first place in the whole National League by I don't know how many games. And he's complaining that, we only won one World Series when this happened, and we only
Sounds
won
like us as Steeler fans, doesn't it?
And I'm like, Brad, we try to get to 500, and we don't even come close.
Right.
I don't feel bad for you. I do not feel bad for you, sir.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I see where you're coming from. But he's like, but we're like right there. And I'm like, we don't even have a chance to be right there.
I'm not a big Philadelphia guy for anything, but I got to tell you, this is a really good team that Philly has. They and New York Yankees have the same exact record as we speak. And at this point in the season, here we are, as I said, a little bit over past the third of the way. My guess would be Philadelphia and the Yankees come October.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the pitching happens in the playoffs, because that's what I always think.
Yeah.
But the Phillies, I believe, are playing the Brewers right now, so we should be rooting for the Phillies this series. I would think.
Absolutely. If we could gain up any ground, because it does seem like if we win 5 in a row, which we haven't done in a long time, this is just an example, and the Brewers win 2 of those 5 over that period, we somehow lose ground to the Brewers. I don't know what they're doing over there, but we cannot gain ground on this team at all.
I remember in the 2015 season when we would win like 8 out of 10 and we'd lose a game to the we'd be further back 1 to the Cardinals,
Yeah.
and the Cubs would stay. They would win 8, and the Cardinals would not win 9. That was a crazy season.
You're right. But I tell you what, Brian, one last thing. I know you want to finish up here, but boy, isn't it not fun when the Pittsburgh Pirates are competitive and they do give us something to be excited about here.
We got a lot of nice arms, got a lot of nice young players, and I don't see any of them going anywhere anytime soon. So, let's just buckle our seats for the next few seasons. I'd like to thank Jay Skapanak.
Absolutely.
He did a great job. The famous YouTuber Scap Attack. Make sure you go on there, subscribe, and share. Great content there. Ryan, you had a special guest on your YouTube channel today, did you not?
We're down to the last minute, the last 60 seconds. I didn't know if you were going to mention it, but I thought to myself when I walked in, what is Tom Selleck doing in this studio? It is Brian with his Paul Skeens mustache, and Paul Skeens mustache did call the show this morning. You could always check us out at the 2dumyusers.com, but Paul Skeens mustache did place a call to us this morning.
Yes, it was a very interesting call.
Very interesting.
I've been growing this mustache for 3 weeks now, and I can't wait to shave it off. I wore it specifically for the Paul Skeens show today. So here you go. All right. Well, I don't know, Ryan. It was a good show.
I think it was a fantastic show. I think you hit on all the points. The Steelers, Caitlin Clark, NBA playoffs, the mustache. Brian, I can't wait for next week. And in the meantime, let's go Bucks.
All right. Thanks a lot, Ryan. I appreciate you. All right, everyone. You've been listening to WBVP 99.3 FM and 1230 AM. We will see you back here in 167 hours.
You've been listening to One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale on Beaver County Radio. Don't forget, you can watch the show on WBVP-WMBA Facebook page anytime. Tune in next Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for One Man's Opinion on Sports with Bryan Pasquale on Beaver County Radio.
The views and opinions expressed on WBVP and WMBA are those of the participants and host. They are not necessarily the viewpoint of WBVP and WMBA, its staff, management, and advertisers. Thank you for listening to WBVP and WMBA.
You're listening to 99.3 FM.